This video is sponsored by Anoah Mother Care.
My name is Naa Aku. I'm married to Derek, and a very interesting guy. We have 2 boys. We've been married for 5 years.
My name is Derek. I'm married to this interesting lady, Naa Aku. It's been a 5-year journey. We have 2 kids, boys, my competitors, and I'm into telecommunications and digital financial services for about a decade plus. Yeah. When we got married, we used to talk about pregnancy and a lot of, we used to have all those conversations like new couples do. So I think about the first 4 months, I was waiting for her to tell me something, but I wasn't hearing anything. So I was like, what's going to happen? Are we going to go the long haul? Are we going to do the Jesus religious stories, 15 years, 10 years, no show? So I was ready for it, but I was confused. And so I think it was after the 4th month, I was going for a dinner event with her. And just before we left, she said, I'm feeling dizzy, I can't go. So, and it's usually she wants to be everywhere, like everywhere I'll be going. So when she said she couldn't go, I was like, you can go say. I was worried, but then she said she couldn't go, and then she said she's feeling dizzy. So I told my mom about it, and my mom started smiling. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with you, I'm going, I'll be back. So I left them and I went, and then later on when I came back, then she was like, she thinks she's pregnant. I was like, hey, really? Is that how pregnant? So you're not going to go to anything, you're not going to have any events again and stuff like that. So that was like my first introduction to pregnancy, and it was her who told me.
So I had missed my period a couple of days before, and that was happening 4 months after our marriage. So I felt quite weird 5 days after missing my period, and I was just wondering. Usually when I miss it, a few days before my period or my flow comes in, I used to feel some rumbling in my abdomen, but this time it wasn't there. So we had prepared to go for Ghana meets Niger. It was one event that I loved, and I was looking forward to it. I had gone to sew this very skimpy dress for it and all that. But then I think around 5 p.m. when we were getting ready to go, I felt weird, and I said, Derek, I don't think I can go for Ghana meets Niger with you tonight. He said, why? I said, I feel pregnant. I said, then he looked at me. He didn't hear. I think he actually heard me saying that I think my period is. Then he said, no, wait, what did you say? I said, I feel pregnant. Really? Okay, let me go and come back. So he went away, and then he came back. But I was feeling quite sick, which was unusual. There was slight headaches here and there, and my whole body was just not okay. So I knew something was in, not amiss. Something was in. So yeah, that was how I found out I'm pregnant. So a couple of days later, he said that, okay, let's give it some time and test later. So I gave it about 3 to 4 days, then I bought a test kit. And we went home around at dawn. I woke up and I tested. So when he woke up, I said, well, yeah, the thing is positive. And he said, okay. I knew he was happy, but he's not one person to show real emotions when it comes to good emotions. So yeah, I was happy. He was looking forward to it. So we began the journey of pregnancy. For the period of pregnancy, I think within the first trimester, I used to fall sick a lot. I couldn't eat much, but I was always craving very spicy stuff. So I would eat banku with very hot pepper and crab. That was a delicacy for me. And then I was sending him out to buy very spicy indomie in Tema Community 7 or so. Most of the time, or I needed to eat wache, Community 4 wache, very hot with pepper. That was all I needed to eat. The whole pregnancy journey was, for a first-time mom, it was quite difficult for me because I had to commute from Tema to work. The drive was relatively longer for me. Coming back, I was always tired. I couldn't do much. Thankfully, we had his mom around who was helping, was cooking and a couple of stuff. But as much as possible, I was trying to do a lot of stuff to stay healthy and fit. He was there to take me to my antenatal visits. It was quite a journey. I mean, for someone who was expecting and feeling fulfilled at the time that I was going to have the child that I so wanted to have for myself and for my husband, it was quite an exciting journey. I always look for it. I used to wonder, hey, who is it going to be? Is it going to be nice? What's it going to look like? Is it going to look like my husband? Is it going to look like me? My husband likes fair kids a lot because he himself is fair. So if this baby comes out black, I'm going to be in trouble. I mean, those were some of the things that used to run through my mind as a first-time mom. For the second one, I think I had gotten used to it because I think I had experienced the whole feeling of it for the first child. So I can't exactly tell what the difference is, but for me, the second pregnancy was more enjoyable and relatively shorter. You know, yeah. There was so much activity, I actually lost count of the time before I knew it. We're in 7 months and yeah.
So pregnancy for me as the husband was an interesting experience. She was eating too much pepper for my liking. At some point, I used to tell her, "You're going to burn the baby, or you're going to give us a black baby, because you're pouring too much shito on the child." She wanted to eat wachi. She wanted to eat everything. She wants pepper around it. So it's like if you don't give her something with pepper, she would say she would eat. So, and it just comes, like it could be any time, 11 p.m. I want this, I want that. So sometimes when I'm getting back home from town, maybe around 8ish, I'll probably ask her, "Look, I'm coming home. I'm not going back again." So everything you want, just mention it now and let's just do it quick. And if you want to hold food till 2 a.m., I don't care. We could buy it, you could keep it, you can have it at dawn, so that we don't get up at dawn and go grab food. So those are some of the experiences, but these are stuff I'd heard from people, from friends, when we talk and we share some of these experiences about how moods change and eating habits change and all sorts of cravings come in the wind. So it was expected, but sometimes it was a bit inordinate, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, yeah. I
used to wake up a lot at midnight because I wasn't having quite a good sleep at night. So I woke up at 3 a.m. one Saturday to Sunday, 3 a.m. And so I always had black shito at home. I had banku and fried fish in there. 3 a.m. I woke up and knocked the banku out. I mean, after eating it, I felt so good within. I'm like, no, this is it, man. This is the life. And after eating it, every time I used to see my baby move in the tummy. I was like, oh yeah, we are there. So
you're punishing the baby.
Those were the times we were having our time, our good time.
Okay, I hear.
So labor, I had read a lot about pregnancy, delivery, all the contractions, all the stages you need to go through before the baby comes out. So I started feeling, I'm quite sensitive when it comes to myself. So I was feeling some sort of pain which wasn't normal. So I told him that I was feeling some pains down there, and for me it was down there, because I couldn't really differentiate from where exactly the pain was coming from. So I told him that I wasn't feeling okay. He said, okay, let's wait till daybreak, then we can go check out the hospital. So I think I was watching a series, The Haves and Have-Nots. So I woke up at dawn and I said, Derek, I don't think it's okay. I think we are getting there. So I had packed my bag and everything. So let's just go to the hospital. He said, okay. This was around 4 a.m. We got to the hospital and the nurse checked me out and she said, oh, the baby's head is down, but you're not there yet. So you know what, you go home. When you start feeling it quite intensely, then you can come back. So we went back home and I'm going to continue my series. I think one thing is that when I'm close to delivery, I usually lose appetite. I'm unable to eat. So we went back home. I was indoors. I was in our bedroom and he was in his. He couldn't bear to see me in the pain. That's one thing about him. He can't stand pain. So he left me in the bedroom and then he was checking on me intermittently. And he came by to ask if I wanted to eat something because he was going to cook rice and stew. I said, okay. I can try. Then he ate the rice. He brought me some. I ate just a bit, and I was laying there. I continued the series, but around 4 p.m., I just knew that the pain was getting intense. So I told him, and he asked that I just take a shower. So when I was going to take the shower, I realized that there was some mucus in my undie. And then I told him that I think the mucus plug is broken, so we are ready, we can go to the hospital. So I took my bath and then we quickly rushed there. When we got to the hospital, they checked me out, they asked me to lay down because I had just dilated about 2 centimeters, and they thought that because I had been through that pain for close to 12 hours, it was going to take relatively longer to dilate fully. So they asked him to get a cloth for me. Even though I had a bed sheet, they needed a cloth. Our house was like 10 minutes drive to the hospital. So he went to get the cloth. So I was laying there and then I told the nurse that, oh, the pain was getting quite serious. And I have started making some sounds. Not scream, I don't usually scream. But she said, okay, so then let me check you out. She checked and she said, oh, no, you're actually 10 centimeters, let's go in. So we went in and I was dressed up for the deal. So she asked me to push, then I pushed and she said, oh, but this pushing you're pushing, it's in your throat, oh, you better push out. Very nice woman, you better push out hard. So I had a very hard push and said, okay, you don't worry, push again, I'm going to help you. Actually, the helping was going to be a cut. That's an episiotomy, right? So I pushed out and then boom, she had already cut me. So I didn't feel the pain of the cut while the baby was coming out because it was just once. And then the baby came out. I think I lost consciousness at that time because I had gone low in blood. So they took the baby out just when he had arrived, and then they asked him to come. I think I was coming around at that time. They asked him to come look at the baby before they take him away to dress him up. So yes, he checked him out, and I don't know what he felt, but I was unconscious, so I didn't really see the baby. Then they had to do the stitch, very painful. They sort of numbed the area, but the pain was quite intense. I felt it. It was painful. Then after that, they asked that they move me from the delivery room to the ward. Just when I was moving, I passed out again. And they brought me back to the table or the delivery bed. I lay there for a while, and then they said, okay, I was okay to move. So they had to do the catheter. Yeah, so they moved me back into the ward. Then they brought my baby, that I should breastfeed him. At that time, he was sitting right in front of me. But I was still losing consciousness, sort of. So I had the baby in my hands, and I was going off. Thankfully, he was there to catch the baby, you know. So when I came, he said, what is wrong with you? I don't know. So he held the baby, they took care of him, and slowly, I got back to myself. It wasn't some euphoria for me, the very first child. I think it was because I wasn't too well, and thinking of the pain of that episiotomy didn't really sound so exciting for me immediately. But because you had to stay in the hospital for like 2 days, I got used to the baby. Then I slowly warmed up to the fact that I'm now a mother. And yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it was an interesting experience, just like she shared, the whole delivery thing. I missed it by, let's say, inches, because she doesn't take too long with the delivery. So I kind of it's not like I turned my back and then the baby had come. So I came in, and then the nurse showed me the baby before they were even going to dress up the baby. So usually I think a standard protocol for that institution, they want you to see the baby so you don't you don't think your baby has been exchanged. And the baby was very white. So I was like, is that my baby? Is that my baby? So it's like, yeah, the baby. It's like, the baby is very white. Anyway, so we put the baby down, and I realized that the baby kept changing. So it was getting more reddish at some point, like the very first 3 hours. But I actually sat with her in the hospital, because I think you delivered around 9
p.m., yeah.
So I sat with her in the hospital from 9 till morning, 5:36. I was still sitting by her in the hospital. So I think around 1 a.m. the baby. Thankfully, the baby slept. So because she was unconscious, the baby slept for like a couple of hours, for like I think about 2.5 hours. So when he woke up, they were like, we have to find him something to eat. So I drove out to go get SMAs and stuff like that. And then because they said, okay, well, because she's a first mother, milk wasn't going to come down and stuff like that. It's going to be difficult. So we're going to have to manage with the powder and stuff. So we did that. And then I think when I came in, she kind of like her eyes were open as well. So the nurse just brought her the baby and she left. So this was an interesting experience because I was wondering if I wasn't there, she was holding the baby thinking she could sit. And then I was talking to her, so I was sitting like, let's say about 5 steps away from her. And I could see that she's talking, but she's looking down. And I thought she was looking at the baby. But then I still had to look at her for a while, and I realized, no, she's not looking at the baby. So she kept going like that. And she was just going like that with the baby. So probably they would have all fallen down the bed onto the ground. So I quickly had to like rush up to her and grab her and the baby, and then kind of like held the baby and put her down. Then I called the nurse and I told the nurse that I don't think she's well. Then they said, okay, she needs blood. So I had to wait for morning, started driving all over. I'll go through Tema General Hospital, I'll go here, I'll go there, looking for blood from different hospitals. So I was heading to Kolebu when finally I got a phone call that I should return and come, that they had a doctor who had come in, and the doctor said it's not blood, it's something completely different. And so he kind of like, I think he gave her something else, and then it kind of like stabilized her a lot. And we kind of like, yeah, we go okay. Once she started getting better, she was able to smile a bit more than the few hours after delivery. That was the difficult part, yeah.
I mean, thankfully, our first baby used to sleep a lot. Jared could sleep for 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours. So even I think when the nurse came for him, he said, you wake up, we have to feed you, wake up. They had to tap his feet and say, wake up, and he would do, say, what a lazy baby. wake up, let's feed you. So yes, and because I was, as I said, because I'm O positive, it was hard to get a donor. So he had to do a lot of running around. But thankfully the doctor who came in the morning said I could do with some ampoules, blood ampoules. So he gave me a lot of those that morning, and it sort of stabilized me.
Oh yeah, then we started breaking those
ampoules, yeah.
No.
Totima.
Yeah, Totima, yeah. We used to break a lot of those. She could break them like toffees. Just be breaking them, be drinking them right from the bottom. Like, come on. Like iron. I picked her up to the house, and we kind of like, we left the house 2, we came back 3. And when we came back, I started losing a couple of my access. I lost my bed. I lost my matrimonial bed. Baby will not sleep in his cot. He wants to sleep on my place. Can you imagine? My place, my own bed. And she will be supporting the baby. That's the thing I didn't like. Well, we had that whole new, it was like a whole new phase. We had help, but usually help was during the day, but usually by night, either of our mothers will probably leave, and so we'll be stuck with each other and the baby. So we had to kind of like do with what we had. So for me, I took some paternity leave as well for the first week. So I spent time alone with her at home and the baby. So I used to do a lot of the runarounds, get stuff for the baby as and when we're told we need X or we need Y. We used to do that. It was interesting because suddenly it was like, I also returned back home. I left as a father, I returned back home as a new mother because she couldn't do a lot for herself at home, and I had to do a lot of the running around. So I had to do some of the go and warm this rice, go and warm this soup, go and warm this, go and I put this thing on the fire, go and turn it for me, and then, but thankfully we also had a baby that wasn't too, babies are not petty, but the baby wasn't too difficult to manage. Doesn't cry unnecessarily. He's very quiet. He doesn't cry, and we're able to manage him for like the first couple of months. We did very well. Thanks also to like our mothers, but more her mom, because she spent a lot of time coming over. And then I think it was good. It was good. So after delivery, we came home, and then so I lost my access. That's basically. It wasn't fair. I don't think it's fair. Even till now, it's not fair. So for all the men listening to me, you have to lose some access so that the baby can grow.
Because you see, for me, we have had a baby. Things aren't going to be the same. You know, yes, thankfully our baby was not difficult to handle. Once he's fed and he's fed well, he was okay to sleep for a couple of hours so that you can do other things. But then the painful road of healing, that episiotomy healing, took some time. And it took a toll on me because you can imagine all the emotional and physical traumas you had to go through, knowing that Charlie, things aren't okay down there yet, and you're wondering, hey, so it's been 3 months, the wound is still there, I'm not okay, what's going to happen? Is it going to be there for forever? Is it going to be there for some time? Do I need to take some surgeries? Because I had read about fistulas and all of that. So those were all some of the things that came to mind at the time. And Jared he was a heavy feeder. He could feed for close to 45 minutes. I had a lot of milk. I was getting milk. So he could feed for long. It meant that I had to sit for a lot of the time. And you know what happens when you're sitting on your wounds? It doesn't heal fast. But I was okay. And I was dealing with, what was that? What do they call that?
The bags?
No, the blood issues.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had low blood issues, so
Yeah.
it was quite difficult. I had to eat specific foods to be able to feed well and feel okay for the boy, and it was quite difficult. Talking about fairness, yes, we have a baby. Things weren't going to be the same, so I was expecting that he would be okay as I'm managing. Like, I'm managing pain, I'm managing baby, I'm managing at home. So you should also be willing to sort of handle something, deal with it. You know, but there were complaints here and there, and I'm like, you know what? I can't even understand what you're saying. I can't even relate to it because I have my own issues I'm dealing with. So I couldn't pay attention to you a lot. And yes, that was the thing. It was reality.
Oh. So why are you shaking your spectacles?
I'm just adjusting my
Don't
spectacles.
adjust. So the point about, let me just take it from this angle. The point about me not having my wife is that I still don't have my wife. Technically I'm competing with 2 boys for their mother. In fact, and for our mother, she hardly posts me on her status. She'll post her boys. So the competition is really tight.
Do that.
Come on. The competition is very tight. Well, she won't even put, not like pictures, like you talk about them. You don't talk about me, do you? So I kind of like have lost a lot of my powers. If I was Captain Planet, I don't think I could fly by now. But it's that whole experience. It's kind of like it's like you're not prepared for it, but you want it. The point about us getting back sexually active and everything after childbirth, I think it took like about close to a year. And if you're asking how I managed, I have a big Bible. And why are you smiling? I'm being shown red cards about baby number 3, but let's see what the Lord will do. And a couple of traps that I'm setting, which is going to definitely catch my bailer for me.
I want my wife, but I want another child. What do you want, men? What do you want?
You want to enjoy fatherhood. You want to see that family thing there, but then you don't really anticipate the excesses that is going to come with. So this is my plan now. Right now we need a girl because I need somebody to give you competition as well. So that's the whole plan. If you don't know, I'm telling you now on Dromo Baby, we need a girl. So once we get the girl, you can play with your 2 boys. I'm fine. We'll manage. I'll have my baby girl. We'll be good. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you guys are interesting.
We used to, I think when we had our first child, we didn't know that we had a center that was close by. So we used to go all the way to Tema General Hospital. And when you get there, because it's a general hospital, there's a very long queue. So it took quite a toll on us going through that. I remember when the very first the very first immunization, when we got there and we were about to inject Brother Man, his father wasn't too happy about it. He was almost coming to fight with the nurse, like, But how can you be injecting this small baby so hard? He thought that the nurse was being unkind to the boy, but I told him like he needed it. So yeah, I think we did about 3 trips of that before someone mentioned to me, someone recommended to me that there was a center that was close to us in Sakumono, so we could go there. But before then, we had to do the circumcision, and because he can't stand the pain, and I thought it was going to be a lot more work to do the open sort of circumcision. We thought we could do the ring method. So we did the ring, but our boy was growing too big. So they had used a particular size of ring to do the thing for him. 3 days after, it was becoming tighter and he had grown bigger. So there was more flesh in that area as well. So the ring was sort of stuck. And then, even though the thing was supposed to fall off after 7 days, there was no sign of it falling off. And every time I looked at it, it was just painful for me. I thought the boy was going through some pain. So I told him that this is what I had realized. So I think we should go back to the doctor and tell him that this is the situation. So we did, and then he scheduled us for another theater session. So we took him there, and we had to sort of cut the ring and scrape it a bit more so that the dead flesh around that area out because of the swelling. He could heal, and then we could get it in the right shape. I mean, I was scared that my son will grow up and blame me for things not going so well with his circumcision. So it was quite a delicate situation, and it was painful. I remember when they brought him after the very first cut, we looked at him as soon as they brought him to us, because they took him away to the theater and then did a thing. When they brought him to us and he saw us as a baby, as soon as he saw us, like, oh, look at what they've done to you, we are sorry. And then the second one, when they had to cut the ring, I mean, I had to sit there for the doctor to do it, and it was very painful hearing my son cry right behind me. I was helpless. I couldn't do anything about it, but in the end, it helped. So because of that experience, we didn't do the same thing for the second one, and he had the open sort of circumcision, and he healed faster. I mean, that boy is something else. He healed faster, and it was quite easier to handle. So, yeah. But for all the immunizations, it's been quite easy. Their father mostly will go with us because every time he does, the nurses over there will take care of us quickly, and then we get to leave. And
so, I'm a realist. I'm a realist from A to Z. And so I have never had a choice when it comes to kids. So I believe in the fact that kids are a gift from God, whichever way or whichever gender they come. For me, I believe that anything that you're given, you thank God for it, and you embrace it, and you step up to the responsibility that you have before you. So gender has not really been, I've not really had any extraordinary preference for gender. Usually sometimes I tell her, I don't even want to know the gender of the child. Don't tell me, I don't want to know. Then she, at some point, I'm sure maybe sometime around 7, 8, she will go and look. Then she will keep it for a while. Then she'll say, oh, it's a girl, it's a boy, it's a boy. That's okay.
So he'll drive me to the antenatal center or the hospital to see the midwife or the gynae. And the hospital we go to requires that you come to see the midwife, I think every month until you are 6 months. From then on, you visit the hospital every 2 weeks. And they took care of me quite well. I mean, it helps me. I mean, she was helping me and guiding me about how you should be feeling, how is the baby. I mean, the midwife was very good. Auntie Mary, she was very good. She will tell you everything about how you should be feeling and what you need to do when you're feeling some way, about the medicines you are not supposed to be taking, the foods you should eat or not eat. Because, well, they detected my blood issue right from the first pregnancy. I mean, the early days of pregnancy. So she used to tell me about the foods I needed to eat, and they used to do a scan at every visit. So you can tell what is happening with your baby, how they are growing, and all of that. We did exclusive breastfeeding, so it was purely 6 months of breastfeeding without anything. I think a few days before the 6th month, we decided to test the formula with the food, and it was okay because I was getting a lot of breast milk. Even when I resumed work, there was enough milk at home to keep him before I get back home. So usually I had this ice bag with me when I get to the office.
To like a year?
Yeah, it's like a year. I could express at work, keep it in the ice bag, bring it back home, keep it in the freezer. For the next day, we could get about over 200 mils of milk. Yeah, overnight. And we had excess. We had milk for like 2 days, always in excess in the freezer. He was a picky eater, so we couldn't introduce the solids immediately. We had to do with a bit of baby food, those canned foods, cow and gate, those blended foods and stuff. Even then, he was quite picky about what he eats. So when he moved into solids, he won't eat rice, but he will eat fufu, bankun, kokonte, tozafi, those things, but no rice and no snacking, unless they are quite soft for him. So, but the second boy, that guy started drinking cocoa very early, by 2nd month, because he was eating a lot, and I couldn't get as much breast milk for him. So at 2 months, we had started trying him on very, very, very light cocoa with a lot of formula mixed with breast milk. He will eat rice. He'll eat anything you put in his mouth. You know, he wakes up, even at age 1.5, he wakes up 4 times, 3 to 4 times at night to drink mashke. Yes, he won't drink water. If you give him water, he would hand it over back to you. Hold on to his bottle, lie down, enjoy his mashke and sleep. So you now have to take the bottle out. But Jared sleeps through the first one sleeps through the night. He doesn't do late night snacking or anything like that. You just have to feed him well, and it's good. So the situations differ for both of them in terms of introduction of solids and breastfeeding or feeding, and their preferences differ. But it's been quite exciting, and thankfully we are quick enough to know that he likes this, he doesn't like that. Until recently we realized that the second boy, the one who eats everything, is actually lactose intolerant. You know, so if you give him milk or anything, cheese, or he has issues. So he had to take those ones totally out.
I think he has issues because he's overeating the milk.
No, he had a lot of milk to drink.
It's like
because he was drinking Vitamilk. SMA.
You know, the thing with that child is
yeah, boy and kappa.
Because he uses 5 diapers a day. Like he's just a handful, but he's very interesting. Like I wake up in the morning and then I'm seeing him with a saucepan as early morning as 6:30 with a saucepan with his leg inside, or you wake up in the morning, he's holding dompe in his hand. I'm like, what did he do when I was asleep? Like, it's always like there's a festival going on in his life. So he's an interesting kid, but the beauty is if the parents are able to appreciate the differences between the kids. You can't run them on the same track as if they were going through a free SHS program. Each of them would definitely take a different course, and so it's just for both parents to be able to understand their differences, their similarities, and then be able to augment when it matters. But I think aside that, I think that they are both fantastic kids, and we couldn't ask for more. Oh, so parenting is interesting. Amazingly, the kids kind of like, they do a lot more with their mom than with me, which is very normal. But I try as much as possible to catch up as and when I'm home with them. With regards to training how to eat and stuff like that, even to hold their bottle, it starts from there, because even sometimes they want you to hold their bottle for them right from when they get breast. They want you to hold the bottle too, like the way you hold their breast and stuff like that. So beyond holding the bottle themselves, to be able to now move into that point where you now want to give them that sense of responsibility that you have to be able to hold and feed yourself. It's a very rough road that you have to be able to navigate as parents. But even beyond just the feeding and then coming to even using the spoon and all those other equipment and the kind of food that they eat and what they can get support for and what they can't get support for. One of the things, so even particularly for the first one who usually wants you to do everything for him, at least thankfully I see now he wants to have his own biscuits. He wants to take the biscuit from you and break it himself. He wants to break it in the portion that he wants to have them, and that's fun to see. But for parenting is not really all just about the eating, but also about shaping them with a stop, put this down, do this, do that. I like to be more of a disciplinarian when I'm around. My wife likes to give them much more space. So she won't mind you breaking it, so she can tell you, I'll beat you. I will make you break it. I will probably beat you before you break it. So these are the differences even when we come to discipline. So usually, but I kind of like sometimes would lean towards her style a bit more because the kids of today are pretty smart. With all the pregnant care tablets that pregnant women are taking, we're giving birth to Einsteins before they even start talking. So they become more smarter, they become more confident, and you don't want to break that confident chain. Because for me, I love kids who are able to step up and talk to you. It challenges me and it excites me. I love my wife because I like the fact that she's able to, she's outspoken. It's just that thing about wanting the kids to be able to get that kind of a free flow, to be able to do their own thing. And then probably maybe when they go wrong. So like the first one now has gotten very interesting. You tell him not to turn on the lights, he'll turn the lights on, and when you get up, he'll run and come and hug you and start shouting, sorry, whatever that means. You know, the new strategy I had is kiss, 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 kiss. So give him a kiss, and then he kind of thinks like we've made up, we're not going to beat me. So he's gotten very smart. And so if you have kids that pretty much know exactly what is wrong, that for me is enough. That's the starting point. Because once he does something, he sees you, he's scared, that's enough. You don't even need to beat him. You don't even need to lay your hands on them. You can probably just use it as a stepping stone to say, I'll deal with you. So you keep them on a leash, give them the free flow to be able to explore, particularly when they're boys. So you give them that free flow to explore, but you also ensure that you keep them in check as and when possible, so that you also are able to safeguard them from also some of the harmful stuff around the house. Because I know kids that swallowed coins, sharp objects, fire. Because sometimes you just be there, somebody will just run around like this and enter the kitchen. Before you know, saucepans and stuff are falling down. So you always have to be following them around. So if you're having kids at home, you can't really do any work now. They are your work. So it's very difficult also in a period of a pandemic when we are all working from home, having to manage kids from the house and everything. It's an interesting terrain to navigate currently. But I think in all, it's fun. What do you think?
Well, yeah. In addition to everything he said, for me, parenting at that stage is really about learning and guiding them to do what is right and what is acceptable. By your standards, by their standards, you need to figure it out somehow. Parenting is new for you as the parent, and being a child, navigating it is also new to them, but they are going through the learning. And so for me, whatever treatment I'm giving to them, I'm always thinking about how it's going to help them to learn, how it's going to help them to learn about how to relate to people, how to take care of themselves, how to do things for themselves and all of that. But I'm quite patient with them because they are kids. As their father said, he would be screaming and get out, you know what, Jared, move, come and sit here. Jake, you do this, do that, sit on it, bring it, don't take it. And all of that. So I try to make them understand why they need to do things in a certain way. Parenting is not easy for me. I always tell my husband, that's all, getting pregnant and going to deliver, it's an easy thing for me. I mean, I think I look better when I'm pregnant. I look more beautiful and glow better when I'm pregnant. The whole delivery process is quite easy, but the care is one thing I find very challenging, and because of this idea, I'm always kept on my toes. You know, I need to get it right. I need to do things right so that I don't mess, or we don't mess them up, because that's their foundation. If we don't get it right, we're going to be having issues in future.
Because some people want to give their kids out to school even as early as 6 months, 8 months. They're sending their kids to school. I think that before we do a mix up, we definitely need to have our own internal controls. before we start doing the mixing. So usually I believe that 2 years after is a fine time for my kids to start school. In terms of what informs the decision of the school, I want my kids to be in a school where I think I have control over what is being taught. I think I have control over what goes on in the school. I think I have the proprietors or the headmaster or whatever, or the principal on dial, or the teacher on speed dial, so that if I have issues, I can get them addressed ASAP. I'm not a fan or a spoil of school with big names as such. I'm just really interested in what is being taught. So sometimes I can go spend time in the school and figure out what exactly they are learning, what kind of curricula they are used to, and then I make my choice there. We spoke to her, and once I engaged the woman, the owner of the school, usually I use that to also make my final recommendations if I really want to do this. So she sounded very outspoken, very great lady. She sounded like they knew exactly what they were doing. And then they also had this, they have this, it's almost like the school is running also on this Christian-based values. And they do a lot of these, it's more like a Sunday school setting in certain stages. And the foundation for kids like that is very, very important if you're able to bring them to God early. So I think it also kind of like informed our choice for the school. It was until he did school, he was like the first kid for us, so he was always with us at home. And so he wasn't really exposed to anyone. So it took him a while. He's the kind of kid that everybody is giving him fans, but he doesn't really care. So I take him to school. Sometimes we get to school. There was one time we got to school a bit late, I think after like 30 minutes, and he was coming inside, and then all the kids started getting up. One little girl got up from the class and shouted, "Jared!" And the whole class, "Jared, Jared, Jared!" And he's just walking like he doesn't even know that they are mentioning his name. And I'm smiling and I'm telling myself, "Oh wow, my boy has fans. Yeah, that's my boy." It felt good. It felt good.
For me, I think the whole process of conception, delivery, childcare, parenting is an exercise that everybody, it's an experience that everybody needs to go through. It's quite interesting, mixed with low times, high times, but the reward is great when you see your kids doing well, and when you see them make their first step, say their first word, get all touchy and emotional with you. It's a great feeling. But all I say, or all I want to tell people out there is that when you have kids, you need to know them, because they are yours. You need to learn the kids, know what their needs are, what their preferences are, where you think they need support, because they are kids. They will need support in areas. And every child has a special requirement in terms of care. So you need to know your kids, learn your kids, know them, understand them, appreciate them, and give them what you think is right for them. Don't forget to look out for, there's a lot of information out there. It might not be local to us, or whatever information you get out there, which is on the foreign front, you need to sort of internalize it, make it local and relevant to your situation. Find out the best options for you out there, for you and for your child. And I always tell my husband that you need to be okay for your child to be okay. If you're not in the right state of mind, if you're not good physically, you cannot take care of your child for them to become what you want them to be. So take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so well that your kids enjoy you, you're able to take care of your kids, and there's everything good out there for parenthood.
I think parenting is an exciting journey. The beauty of the whole exercise is being able to appreciate and understand the nuances out there within that whole journey, so that you're able to navigate it right. Because I keep sharing the fact that there's so much excesses that I saw, I've felt, that I didn't kind of like bargain for it. So there are times where I thought my wife had gone mad, or I thought that she wasn't the wife I married. I thought so many things. And that can actually lead you astray as well as a man, because she can find solace in her kids, and then you just be there also as the man, so you probably start finding solace somewhere. So that's something that you need to really, as a man, particularly from my perspective, I think you need to really have a lot of having like your risk factors, bells and whistles on to be able to tell when you're going wrong, when things are going south. But aside that, I think that it's a journey that is exciting, it's fulfilling. Just like my wife rightly said, you have to be able to understand the kids that you have. Every kid is unique, and one of the challenges I personally even have till date is sometimes I step out of my home and then I see someone's child do something, and I think my child hasn't done it yet, so I probably will come back and I'll have a chat with my wife. He's not saying this, he's not saying that. They should go like, oh, it'll come, allow him. So that's a unique experience that we all go through. You go through it, probably you might find a child that is saying the national anthem at 2 years. Your child might not even know what A looks like by 3 years. You need to be able to appreciate that they are very unique in their own way. Probably by the time they start speaking at 5, what they would have amassed in their brain and the wealth of information that they are endowed with, it would overwhelm you. So you need to be able to provide them that kind of support throughout that chain. But the best way to provide your kids support is to also ensure that you have a good base with your partner. And so, it's a phenomenal experience. Marriage is exciting. If you appreciate it, you know what you're into, I think you're going to enjoy the journey. But I wish you all well at it. God bless.
This video was brought to you by Anoah Mother Care.